Richard, thank you so much
Hi,
for coming on again.
my
So,
pleasure.
so last week we recorded our podcast, but unfortunately when I sent it to my video editing team, they told me it was in the wrong format. So here we are again, giving it another crack. So thank you so very much, for sparing more of your time to chat with me.
Absolute
I
pleasure,
really,
Adam. Thank you for asking.
really appreciate it. So I just want to start with just saying, Richard Bickler, Arbour Landscape Solutions. So that was how I first got introduced to you. And it was only through a few telephone conversations and get to know you that I truly understood that you're more than someone with a landscape supply, you're more than someone that supplies landscaping materials. You're actually someone that had his own landscaping company. So you've got a lot of in-depth knowledge of the industry, how it all works. So can we just delve into that? I want to start by asking how you got into landscaping, and then sort of secondly, when you started your company and how you started your company.
So as I approach my 46th birthday, the end of the week, I'm sort of going back best part of 30 plus years now. And I think the seed was sown at a very early age with a mother who was a very, very keen gardener, which she then turned into a garden design business. I left school at 16 with GCSEs. I'd always wanted to play professional football, never made it as a professional footballer like most boys, played semi-pro, but I was always a hands-on outside person, and can remember from 8, 9, 10 digging in the garden, helping my mum do the garden, to, at 10, 11 years old in the midwinter trying to build a how should I put it? I wouldn't say it was a jacuzzi. It was almost like a mud bath, top right-hand corner of our old garden where we used to live. I used to pretend to, I put in piling, I dug a hole of about 2 foot deep, and I just loved being outside. Didn't matter what the weather was. I always wanted to be outside. So the die was almost cast. Left school, as I said, at 16, went to go and do a year's business course at a local college, followed by 2 years at Manor Lodge, which, sorry, not Manor Lodge, Capel Manor, should I say. Manor Lodge is where one of my kids went. Capel Manor in Enfield, that 1992 to 1994.
That was when I was born.
Well, there we go. But yeah, so a couple of years ago. So I was a young-ish student. So went to go and do the first year garden design, national diploma, garden design, landscape construction. Unfortunately, we were the guinea pigs, and I think 27 or 30 students started the course, and 14 or 15 passed, of which I was one of them. Prior to that, during the summer months, I'd spent my time on building sites, helping labourers, helping as a labouring assistant. I'd managed to do a fairly advanced bricklaying diploma course, pretty much on site, helping 2 Irish bricklayers who really wanted to do nothing more than, of course, lay bricks all day, drink cups of tea, and then go to the pub at 4 o'clock. Nice. So it was very much, ingrained in me from an early age, hard work. You've got to motivate yourself, and obviously you're going to work outside. You really have got to be fairly thick-skinned to be able to cope with all the rubbish and the crap that life throws at you, especially being an external job. So went to college. College was pretty boring, if I'm honest, as far as the hard landscaping goes, because I'd already learned quite a lot hands-on, and I learned about the plant side of things. So obviously the Italian plants names, and that really was an eye-opener, because that's where my mum excelled. She wasn't particularly good at the hard landscaping, but she was very good on the soft landscaping. The old adage, what plant where, she knew exactly where to put it.
Do you think if you went back to college, as you've grown older now, that you would have sort of done it a bit differently? Like, ego aside, maybe there was something there you could have learned. Were you going in there like too brash and thinking you knew too much? Because I had the same thing when I went to college. I've since apologised to a couple of my tutors, but there were certain classes which I ignored. So it was only looking back now in hindsight that I really wish I'd paid more attention, because they were telling me a lot of information, but my ego was in the wrong place at the time, and yeah, I kind of dismissed it. Like, I don't know, it sounds like, yeah. Can we
I mean, to be honest with you, I suppose being that I'd been around building sites from a very early age, yes, I was pretty confident and probably was a bit too cocky and bullshit, but I didn't feel like I was getting much from the hard landscape tutor.
yeah.
I was getting much more from the soft landscape side and the machinery side, and that was a big eye opener. The thing is with our courses, because it was such a new course, you turn up one day and the teachers wouldn't be there. And that was really disappointing, because in between college time, I was always working 7 days a week. So if it wasn't doing my own landscape jobs, it was maintenance. So I'd always wanted to be kept busy. And if it wasn't that, I was playing sport. So, from that point of view, it was very good that we had a college course, and we, most of us passed. And I used that going forward. And I think things have improved a great deal since then. I did go back about 10, 12 years ago to spend a day mentoring some garden design students, which is something that I'm looking to rekindle and get back into now. And over the hopefully next 8 to 9 months to a year, I'm going to hopefully tie back up with the APL, Association of Professional Landscapers, and get back into the colleges and give something back, because the only way you're going to learn is by learning from other people's experiences.
There's so much I want to kind of dissect, but let's get back more into, so you were at college, because I interrupted. So you're at college, and then from then leading up to you and your landscaping business. We'll get back to
basically set up Arbour Design and Build, which is my mum's business with myself.
Oh,
basically,
I didn't know that. So the name was still Arbour.
It was always Arbour from the start.
Okay.
So it was Arbour Design and Build. Obviously, it was synonymous with my initials, with being that it's Richard Andrew Bickler. So that's part of the ARB. But my mum's name was Angela Ruth Bickler, and of course the resonance with horticulture and landscaping, and the logo of the company was an arbor in the garden. Anyway, so she used to design the gardens. They were fairly small, nothing major, in and around where we used to live in Elstree, Boreham Wood. And I gradually got a name, or we got a name, that we'd be a design, build, and maintenance, sort of business. I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't easy, working for a family member. And we did have one or two fallouts, which, isn't surprising. But we learned a lot from each other, and we sort of just naturally drifted apart around 2000. My mum then went to go and move back up to Leeds, where she was from, and I was sort of, holding the reins down here. I will say, prior to me really setting up fully, I did have 2-3 jobs within 6-8 months with landscaping and maintenance companies in northwest London, fairly big established companies. And I realized that I really wanted to go out on my own. It's great working 5 days a week and slogging your guts out from someone else, but when you've got a real fire and a passion in your belly, you've got to follow those instincts and go and do it yourself. And
I was exactly
pretty much did. Yeah.
I was exactly the same when I was working at Graduates. It was such a good experience, but I always had that urge that, because I was a project manager, I'd always had that urge that I wanted to be the person doing the installs. And it's like you said, if you've got that fire in you, you've got the desire, then
don't ever die wondering. Always go for it. Obviously, take advice. Have a good plan in place, and then go from there. So my landscaping business, so Arbour Design and Build, and maintenance. We were within our 10-15 mile area of where we were based in Hertfordshire, and people basically found us. We worked for a couple of other designers building other designers' gardens. So I went from me, a labourer, for a couple of years, or me on my own, and then a labourer joined me for a couple of years. And then people just sort of found us. And obviously this is when a lot of Eastern Europeans were coming to the UK. So I took on a couple of Romanian guys who then stayed with me for about 5 years each. And then there was sort of a natural progression as more and more work was coming in, more and more staff. We were looking for more and more staff.
Yeah.
And at the peak of our period in 2014, we had 3 landscaping teams, a maintenance team, design team, and pretty much working 7 days a week, which I think really led to the reason why I probably quit and changed direction in late 2016.
It's really interesting to hear.
Because I came off the tools in 2012, and I'd had a young guy with me who joined in 2002 as a labourer and assistant, and I had him under my wings and trained him from the start. And in 2014, that same guy was offered the project management role of the business, and for 2 years he did a pretty damn good job. But I could only have ever given that role to him because I felt so confident that everything that I taught him and he'd learned, he could interact with customers, deal with suppliers, deal with the staff, and he had a major role to play. And I think if I look back at it now, he probably suffered from burnout pretty similar to me in towards the end of 2016. And I think the decision to change direction was, well, I know it now, it was the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah.
I want to touch base with you that in 2012, I had a husband and wife team that were running our maintenance business who decided overnight to let me know that they weren't going to work out their notice period and quit on a Sunday evening.
Wow.
Without any notice, and proceeded to then take 25% of my business overnight without me knowing that they'd canvassed all of our maintenance clients and offered a cheaper rate without me knowing. And I'd put all my trust and faith in them, and they'd been doing such a great job for 5 years, to then find out that, you know, you've lost £250,000 worth of business overnight was a real kick in the teeth.
What was your feeling that day? What was the strongest emotion you felt?
Well, I remember it so clearly because I took my 2 young girls to the cinema, and because it had been raining all day, and I'd had 15 missed calls on my phone. I got out the cinema, I got the girls home.
Something's wrong.
And I phoned the guys up and I said, "What's up?" They said, "Oh, can we have a meeting with you?" I said, "No problem at all." They were only living 5 minutes around the corner from me, so it's not an issue. You know, my business, my staff, I was very passionate, very loyal to them, and as they were to me at that time. And I went over there and they said they wanted to leave. I said, "Well, that was a bit of a bitter blow. I wasn't going to lie to you." I said, "It's not an issue. I'd appreciate if you'd work your notice period out." And they said, "No, we're going tonight." And that's it. I said, "I beg your pardon?" And I'm not going to lie to you, there was a lot of verbal exchanges, and I was really upset with the way they'd approached it and handled it after I'd been so loyal to them and basically gave them carte blanche to run the maintenance business and planting over a 5-year period, really without any issues. And for that to happen, yeah, it was a big kick, you know, in the teeth for me. And I felt very dejected and I felt very low, because not only was I on the landscape side of things and running that and on the tools, I then had to jump in and get the maintenance back on track, because we'd had gardens that we maintained, you know, for 15, 20 years, and I wasn't going to let those customers down. There's quite a lot more to it, but all I will say is try and protect yourself as much as you can. Obviously, you know, your contracts of employment or whoever you use, if you use subcontractors, you've got to have everything in black and white, that your ex-employees or ex-subcontractors cannot approach your clients for a set period of time. It's really important, and it's not something a lot of people focus on because they don't think about it. You know, they think everything is crystal clear and hunky-dory. Well, you've got to have your back office in good order.
Yeah. And that's
taught me a big lesson, that did, Adam. Really big lesson.
And that's what I've been, I guess, I sort of preempt a lot of things in my head, and that's what I've been preempting from the start. So back in March, it was just me on my own, and
Yeah.
then Sam joined. And when Sam joined, it was just me and him. Yeah, I already had in my mind a set of how we do things, and it must have sounded really odd to him because it was just me and him. But I knew that if I let it grow too big, it'd run away from me. So I knew from day one that he'd have to abide by a certain rules. And then Costa joined 2 weeks later, and since then people have just been joining, and it's like a wheel, and they've just slotted straight in and integrated in so well, because from day one, when there's one person, those rules haven't changed. And my big thing is honesty and openness. And if there's ever, so for me, the biggest thing for me is people being truthful. And if there's a problem, come and talk to me straight away, because there's always problems, there's always small issues. But the thing is, they're small issues, and if you talk about them straight away, they can be resolved. But if you let it fester, if you don't say anything, you let it fester for 2-3 weeks, even months, 6 months down the line, it will evolve into something really big and scary, and it'll be very toxic, and that's when it just suddenly explodes. So I've tried to ingrain in the team that if there's any problems at all, any issues, you got any questions,
talk about it.
Just pull me aside, and we'll have the conversation, and we'll work it through. Whatever it is, we'll work it through. If it turns out that if we can't, then we'll leave then. So we're left on good terms, rather than this toxicity building up because it's not spoken about. They feel they can't talk to me, and then you're kind of blindly carrying on your work. Before you know it, a year down the line, and then something happens. So this is why from day one I've always tried to make it that within the team there's loyalty and honesty, and that everyone feels like they can speak their mind.
Trust is also a very big and important thing. You know, you're trusting someone else with your business, so they've got to come over. They have to operate as the way Adam Stewart would operate. Yeah, it would be nice to have clones of each of us, but that's never going to happen. But obviously your training and your processes that you can put into place to try and make the most of that personnel is really important.
So then fast forward over to obviously
now
leaving your landscaping company and then starting Arbour Landscape Solutions.
Well, there's quite a bit more in between then. So
okay.
I had a very tricky 6 to 8 months of 2016, and I'd sort of lost a bit of direction. We had more work than we can handle, but I noticed that my right-hand man, who'd been with me for so long, had also, I think, had burnt out a little. He'd had a baby the previous year. I think he wanted to spend more time at home. The work was really getting on top of him, and I think he let some of the staff overrule him rather than him rule them. And things crept in that I could see productivity was waning. Things were being overlooked. You know, we had a very tight and strict policy of anything in the yard went out, had to be signed in, signed out. And, you know, the supervisors whose roles were placed to look at that and to instigate that, things weren't happening. I didn't really go to site at all much in 2016 because I didn't really need to. I was responsible for getting the work in. And when I did turn up on spot checks, I'd find that people weren't there. We had a set hours, Monday to Saturday. Saturday afternoon, everyone would always go back to the yard, wash down, prep for the week ahead. And there was little things happening. I'd found people were going off to do private jobs without telling my main guy. And, you know, some of the jobs weren't getting done on time and on budgets. And, you know, there was complacency and things were creeping in. And I had confronted my right-hand man about this. And on several occasions, he said there was never an issue. And I knew there was an issue, but I was losing the interest and heart. I'd been doing this pretty much 7 days a week for 25 years. I just had enough. I was mentally shattered, if that's, you know, a good enough reason. I didn't want to see the guys anymore. I didn't want to go to site. I didn't want to deal with the customers and you know, we want to build this, we want to do that. I had a mental, almost a mental break. Yeah, it got too much. And without actually physically and mentally breaking down, it was a decision I had to make because I also hardly saw my wife and kids for years. And it's just purely because I could never switch off. It was really hard to switch off. And 5 years down the line in December is when I gave up my landscaping business. It was a successful business. We did well. We did really well. And I had enough work to last 2 years, but I didn't want to do it. So
Yeah.
I announced on the 5th of December that we were making changes. And by the 31st of December, everything was wound up. And I had this huge noose around my neck lifted. I had 2 weeks off at Christmas. And if I'm honest, I really didn't know which direction I wanted to go, because I'd done some design work. I'd done a little bit of expert witness on the side. And whilst I then looked at what I was going to do with my future, I'd already set up another business with a business partner called Green Envy. And that was doing the artificial plants and green walls. And we thought we had the residential market sewn up. Everyone wanted a plant pot or an artificial pot plant outside their house. I spent a year traveling around the world, in and out of China and Europe and Turkey, everywhere, looking for the best artificial products. And my business partner I'd probably known for about a year, and we'd gone into this business because I wanted a way of forgetting about landscaping, and we set up this business, and it was incredible. And we learned so much about each other. We learned so much about the industry. And then within that period of 2017 and 18, I was dabbling on supplying materials to private contractors and end users. But I really focused on getting Green Envy into a position, and 2017 to 2000 and early 20, I worked 7 days a week getting that business to where it is now. Whilst I'm still a director of that company, I'm not involved in the day-to-day running of that business. And my business partner, Odette, she looks after things. And obviously we talk as and when we need. She's pretty much running that day-to-day, and she's doing really well. And
so is that just within the UK? Because I didn't know about Green Envy. So is that just within the UK, or is it worldwide?
At the moment it is UK, but I've managed to get some high-profile contracts with, I can't name the companies, with two big organisations in the UK that do have European and worldwide premises.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was a pretty fast whirlwind experience. But I always had my eye really and my heart set deep down on having a material supply business. And I'll go back a little bit. That I still kept Arbour Landscape Solutions as a sole trader business going until I really knew what I wanted to do in the latter parts of 2019, because my idea of becoming a one-stop shop for the trade had sort of resurfaced in my mind, and I wanted to bring that out to the UK landscape trade. Because I remember the days whilst I was building gardens, designing gardens, ordering materials, looking after this, looking after that, that as a self-employed landscaper, there's never enough time in the day to do everything. So if you can try and have a service that really helps the landscaper, designer, go to one place rather than 40 or 50, then you've pretty much got a good business that you can really work on and work with. And I took the decision, where are we now? Early 2020, to get this website up and running. It took a year, and I'm not going to lie to you. Prior to that, there was a lot of planning, and in June, I'm sort of going backwards and forwards a bit here.
Sure, that's fine.
In June, where are we? 2019, Arbour Landscape Solutions Limited was born, and it was a web-based company, but also I was also doing a lot of manual orders. And I'm going back to some figures now, that in 2019 we had 46 web orders, but 340 manual orders. And I thought, I'm working harder now than I ever have worked. Something isn't right. So I got together with my web guys, my IT guy, my marketing team, who was only, one lady at the time. And I said, something's working, but it's not right.
How did you start promoting Arbour?
So obviously
First
social
of all,
media was really, really big and popular. I used to use Twitter a lot in the old days.
okay.
Don't really have time for it now. As we all know, it's Instagram, it's Facebook. That's about as much as we do LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
obviously word of mouth. And because I've been part of the Association of Professional Landscapers for quite a long time as a member, ex-committee member, there's people there that have inspired me, and fellow suppliers have inspired me. And I had that little fire burning in the bottom of my heart, saying, right, how can we make this business go from there to there to there? And of course, a lot of it I've done myself, but a lot of it I've done with the help of a mentor who I still see 2 or 3 times a year. My dad's
For me, that's so important, having people around you that you can bounce ideas off.
really important. I've had fellow entrepreneurs, fellow business owners in completely different businesses. I've seen the way other suppliers and other businesses have grown, and you never ever stop learning in this life. And there's always going to be more questions than answers. And I found that there was a problem with my own sort of core business, because the website platform was starting to work, but it was too complicated. So we completely evaluated the platform, we completely evaluated the marketing, the branding, and we are just over 2 years on now, and we are still developing and we are still improving. But Arbour Landscape Solutions has gone from bottom of the ladder, and we've taken a couple of steps up the ladder now. We've got an awful long way to go. We're still learning day by day, but we've changed our business model to a point where we were relying on too many others to do everything for us, to us now having the stock, having the staff, having the yard, having an inventory in place, and having that reputation of a company that can look after everything from the moment a design concept is put together, it's priced. Arbour will be able to feature from start to finish in anyone's projects.
Okay, so two questions would be, why should a landscaper choose a one-stop shop? And secondly, I'd love to know your values and ethos of Arbour.
So I've always been one who's been exceptionally loyal to my suppliers from the start. As a landscaper, I've built up a trust and reputation. So I want people to build up a trust and reputation with Arbour, that they know they can trust us. They know we're available. I've made myself available 7 days a week, right? When I started the business.
I can vouch for that, because you're in Tenerife on a Sunday and we're on the phone for over 2 hours. So,
I'm very, well, thank you. And it's always my pleasure to help. If I can offer just a little chink to someone else, because that help is invaluable. But some people have always offered me help. So I feel that there's always a need to carry on and pass it on. I'm also very lucky that I've got a very understanding wife and daughters who give me the flexibility to be able to help and nurture other people, small businesses, and offer the help and the trust. So it's service, it's help, it's advice, free service. If I don't know something, I'll always offer the recommendation of a third party as well. I'll pass on details. So going back to why people would use us, we've got a large, obviously, inventory side of things. We can supply over 5,000 landscape materials, accessories. We've got a plant hire side to the business. Whilst it's not mine, it's a link to another company who will provide a turnkey solution. And we're trying to become that one business that will give you and your business maximum input.
Yeah.
Because we know that the landscape designer, we know the landscaper is very short of time. We know there's a shortage of staff in the industry, which means business owners are working a lot harder to design and build and maintain those gardens. So anything that we can offer to make your life easier, your business life easier, then that is what Arbour is all about. It's about working smarter, not harder, providing services such as the My Bill of Quantities on the website, where you can upload your document list of materials. My team will aim to get a quote back to you within 24 hours. You can build quotes 24/7. You can order free samples. You can order 24/7. Our customer service journey, I believe, is one of the best out there. Of course, there's a lot of great suppliers out there.
Can I just add on to that? I can fully vouch for that. I was really blown away. So this is why I've obviously dealt with you a few times now. It's because my hand's been held through the whole process, and I've placed the order, then I get a confirmation email to say thank you for ordering, here's your order, and then you set up a WhatsApp group. I've found myself being looked after. I feel comfortable and reassured that the material is going to arrive. Come the day that the materials are scheduled to be arrived, I get a slot as to when they're going to arrive. And not only that, once they have arrived, I then get a further message from one of your teams saying, has the delivery arrived? Are you happy with that? I don't think there's anyone, I've not experienced that before. I've had some of the other processes, but there's never been someone at the end saying, has your delivery arrived? Is it okay? And for me, that's massive, because I've had a lot of bad deliveries, problems with materials, and they've arrived, the slabs have been broken, slabs have been scratched, and when I've called the supplier, oh no, sorry, you can't just call us, you have to email us. I was like, well, I've got some slabs here that are broken, I need to crack on with the job. Oh no, but our procedure is that you have to email us. So after 5 emails, starting work at 9 and the delivery arrives, sending 5 emails, getting nowhere, I finally speak to a manager and then finally get somewhere. But with dealing with you guys, it might not be immediately, but I'm damn sure that it's very, very quickly that I'll get a response. And I know full well that there'll be a set date of an exchange. And I feel this is what I love about dealing with you guys, is that I know that you're there. If there is a problem, there's always problems, but it's knowing that someone's there to help you. And the last thing that I need to be doing on my working day is sending multiple emails to someone. Whereas I know that I can text you, I can text Deb and say, look, unfortunately, it's the wrong material. I asked for sandstone and you sent me limestone. I can just send you a text and I can carry on working knowing that you'll be working on it. Yeah, and then you'll get back to me. I don't have to send you numerous emails.
And it's really important that you're happy with what you're getting. We're trying to make our service offering even better and much more robust going down the line, because we're going to be offering even more services to the trade. And it is really important that it is trade only. We don't get our lines crossed with the retail market. We're not going to ever touch the retail market. I'll tell you now, on what is it? It's nearly 6:30 on a Sunday. The Arbour Landscape Solutions will never be touching the retail market. Our value is to you guys, the boots on the ground, the trade. And whatever we can do to make that journey even better, even smoother, then that's what we'll do. You know, there might be a new Debs, there might be a new Richard coming on board at some point, because obviously as our business grows, our ethos of customer service, product development, price, and our dedication to you guys is still going to be the same from day one.
Yeah. Do you guys hold regular meetings that everyone gets to share ideas? Because this is what I do with my team. So anytime there's anything throughout the project, I get everyone together. I don't have sort of labourer, team leader, supervisor. Everyone just works with Utopia. And any time there's a situation that a design's changing, I get everyone involved, because everyone brings, and each project I've done, someone's come up with a fantastic idea and we've gone with it. So do you have the same thing with?
So every Monday morning we have a team meeting. Our yard, I have a face-to-face meeting with everyone in the yard every 3 weeks, and you know, we're communicating on a constant basis to always look at how we can improve, what projects are coming up. We've got a large bespoke side now, which is really moving forward. You know, bespoke stone, bespoke steel work. Obviously, we're sourcing plants from all around Europe, Italy, Holland, Germany. That's now reigniting again after sort of the Brexit issues and, of course, the long summer periods. So we're not just focusing on paving and porcelain and our main stock holdings. we can look after everything that garden needs from start to finish. Now, of course, there's some things we can't look after, water features and lighting, direct lighting on site. We can recommend companies, glass balustrades. We've got links with 3 companies who will get in touch with you direct once an inquiry comes through on our website. It's linked to those companies.
Sorry, just to touch on that point, how do you, because I'm really interested, how do you vet those people? Because I'm in a position where I need to outsource projects, and there's one thing stepping back and letting your team do the work, but it's another thing finding a subcontractor, as you were saying, like a balustrade company. So how do you ensure that, because ultimately, if I wanted balustrades and I come via you and you said, check this company out, and then they screwed me, it'd be you that...
Yeah, and my reputation is on the line. The plant hire company that have been with us now for 2.5 years, they're a nationwide company. I used to use them in my days. The balustrade company, I used to use them. The living wall company who we're linked to, I used to use them. So I know they're tried, trusted,
relationships. Yeah,
very much so. I wouldn't have someone or some companies on my site that I didn't trust and I didn't have a relationship with, because there is that loyalty that I've started at, when I banged on at the start with you. The loyalty side of it's really important, and they'll give back the service and the loyalty from their end as well.
What I wanted to ask as well is, how did you feel winning Supplier of the Year award 2021?
So I was out, I think it was a Monday morning, and I was about 6:45 when I was out walking the dogs, and I got an email from Phil Tremaine. And he said, Richard, normally this would be done face to face, but due to the COVID pandemic, we will not be hosting any of the awards this year. And I kept on scrolling down. He said, it's come to our attention that there's been some companies that have offered service over and above in the last year. And Arbour Landscape Solutions was recognized and nominated as that Supplier of the Year. If I'm honest, to have an award like that and to be recognized amongst your customers and your peers, I was extremely emotional. And, whilst there was a tear in my eye, I was beaming from ear to ear. I couldn't wait to get back home. Obviously, I couldn't announce anything because the awards were the same week. And literally, I had to get home, I had to shave, change. And within half an hour, I had to write an acceptance video and get that back to them so it could be included in the awards that week. So literally, I had about 2-hour time slot to get everything readied. And of course, I had to keep quiet for 4 days. And for anyone that knows me, I can talk a little bit. And when you've got exciting news, you really want to tell everyone about it. But of course, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And whilst we're really grateful for it, of course, that doesn't mean you can stop and rest on your laurels. In fact, you've got to work even harder to be given an award like that, because, you'll live by your sword, you'll die by your sword. You've really got to then up your game even further. And I believe since, February, since the awards, we're really trying to push that envelope and go from strength to strength and offer, that service, that all-round service. And you know what, we're quietly confident that we're doing a pretty good job. We're very lucky to have great customers like yourselves, and we're getting a lot more designers, architects and landscapers. I mean, as we know, the landscaping industry, we're exceptionally fortunate that during a pandemic, our industry is the only industry really that's probably had such massive growth. And I'm sure your workbooks will tell you the same thing. And obviously trying to look after that demand presents its own challenges, which we all know about as well.
Sure. So what do you think of the current state of landscaping is at the moment?
Well, everyone we speak to have got projects booked in for the rest of 2021, well into 2022, which is brilliant. And what I'm also seeing is landscapers and designers are actually being quite bullish to their own customers. And we've seen that landscapers have predominantly never taken holidays in the summer months.
Yeah.
They're taking it at Christmas when they're quieter. But this business is an all year round business. And I've seen on social media and obviously from friends who are in the industry that they've actually said, you know what, we've got to take a break. We're knackered, we're burnt out. And it's so important that, you know, you recharge mentally and more importantly, physically, because as we know, it's a really hard, it's a really hard business to be in.
Yeah.
My body is still telling me, and I haven't done any physical landscaping for best part of 9 years now, but of course 20 plus years on the tools, you know, you soon realize that as you're getting older, your body, it needs to be reconditioned and reprimed.
You definitely need to listen. You definitely need to listen to your body. I know you thrashed me last time saying about I can't work 7 days a week, but I've got a plan in place. I know that I'm a different sort of animal. I've got a plan in place, and it will. I'm not too far off, but for sure. That my first year, I thrashed myself, and I had 3 or 4 massive burnouts with like really severe depression. I locked myself away. I was on my own most of the year. Locked myself away, and then this year I've been looking after my body more. But it's funny because, looking after your body more, it's hard to respond to everyone. Whereas the first year I was responding to everything and everyone. But then this year my business got better. So yeah, looking after your body.
So you're learning. You see, you're learning, and if you can, if this podcast can tell people you can't be everything to everyone, right?
No.
And Arbour, we know we can't be everything to everyone, and people will have their existing supply chains, and they might be getting crap service from that company, but because they've known them for so long, they're prepared to stick with them. You know, I won't tell anyone to leave a company, you know, and come to us. Because, you know, they want to change. It's got to be the right thing to do. It's got to be the right time, and you've got to want to do it, because at the end of the day, we're only on this planet for a short while, right? It is really important. I've been probably burnt out probably more than once or twice in my landscaping career, and I know it's really important. And even when I started Arbour Landscape Solutions at the start, it was 7 days a week. It was, you know, you've got to go for everything. And then I've stepped back, I've analysed, and I've realised you don't have to.
I think you do. I think there's a certain threshold, which I feel like I'm almost there. I feel like you definitely do to build up the momentum. So I've used this year as a momentum push, and I've gone from March on my own to now where I am, because I'm just riding the momentum. I'm very aware of listening to my body and trying to give myself some sort of break. Like I've worked all this weekend, but I'm riding the momentum, and it will come to the point where I can then slowly take my foot off. But if I was to take my foot off too soon, you won't go to the next level. So initially, I feel initially you do have to work the 7 days a week. You can't start a business and think you can have every weekend off. I feel like it's super important you have got to.
No, I do totally agree with you. And whilst I'm still involved, you know, there is some indirect involvement, or there's some involvement that I don't have to be at now, because obviously I've got that team now behind us. It's really important to get that team. You know, as we know, there's no I in team. No. You know, and we help each other. We learn from each other.
That's why I've booked my whole team to go on up to the Landscape Academy. So all 7 or 8 of us are going up there for the week in 2 weeks' time, which we're super excited about.
And it will show your obviously members that are not as experienced different techniques and different ideas, but also it's a bonding session for you and your guys as well.
Yeah. I could have just booked a cheap Premier Inn, but I found this really nice, lavish Airbnb. It's got a pool table, flat screen TV, log burner. So me and Nicole, we've been working all the year this year on a holiday. So it won't be a holiday of such, but it would be a nice break away. So I'm going to send an email out to clients and just say, look, we're away having a team training, team bonding. And yeah, it's going to be really nice having a whole week together.
Well, you'll set an out of office message up, won't you?
Yeah.
You know, do you divert your mainline business? Will that be diverted so someone else picks up those messages as well?
I think I'll figure that out. I'm not too sure. I probably will. I will still answer the phone to important stuff, But yeah, for sure, I need to.
So you can focus on that week. If this was me, I would have your mobile and your landline, or however you receive calls. I'd have that diverted to a dedicated answer phone service who have a script and can basically relay messages back to you, because that way you can focus 100% on your team and this experience that you're paying for and you're putting them through. No disrespect, you don't want to get a phone call to say, well, Adam, we need 100 meters of walling done, can you come and give me a quote? Because I think you'll then lose a bit of focus on what you're there to do.
You're right, because it's I need that break, because I've really realized this year that my best designs and my best creativity comes from space. And if you're given a timeline, it impedes it. It's detrimental to the design process. So I've been trying to be a bit more honest with the clients and just say, look, it might be a month, it might be 2 months before I get back to you. I'll give you something really special, because of the time that if someone's messaging you every single day, chasing you for something, I don't know. It's bizarre, because some Sundays I can sit there and I can design 3 amazing gardens just because I'm relaxed, I'm in a good headspace. But if there's people, like I said, say if we're away at this course, it will give us time to recalibrate, rethink, and we'll be stronger. But if you're there, if you're not
answering phones and you're answering emails, so definitely look into it. Put your emails on out of office with a specific message to say, give them information and let your customers know that you'll be back to them when you can. Otherwise, you've paid for something that you're not getting maximum enjoyment and usage from.
Yeah, I guess a bit of advice from you, obviously running your own landscaping company. So I'm in a situation where I wouldn't say overwhelmed. It's a negative word. I wouldn't let's say keep saying over. I keep saying overwhelmed. Need to find up a new word. I'm being bombarded by messages, emails from Instagram, the website, wanting to work with me, which is amazing. How would you deal with? Because you can't work with everyone.
How would you do it?
And but you can't work with everyone, and I'm struggling to find companies to pass people to, because I hate saying no to people. I'd love to serve. And
one of your best weapons will be no. And as I said, you can't be everything to every person. And obviously, any good companies that are good are going to have their own workbook lined up. Do you know what? It might not be a bad thing.
Is it okay just to say no to people?
100%. That is a really powerful weapon. Yes and no are very, very powerful weapons, because whilst I appreciate you're building a business, as I said, you can't be everything to every person. It might be worth, and I know you're a lover of social media, but it might be worth that the week you're away, actually just either switch it off or have an automatic message that comes up that if people, do you get a lot of private messages from people on things like Instagram and Facebook? Right. Well, you've got the option of adding automated messages on there when someone contacts you. Just mention that you're out of the office for 2 weeks. If you've got an inquiry, drop an email in and it will be dealt with on your return. I know it's probably not what people want to do, but if you're really careful, you will get swamped with too much. And it's really important to be able to say no and say, look, if people want your services, 9 times out of 10, they'll be prepared to wait. The people that can't wait aren't probably the customers that you want.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be my recommendation. So maybe switch things off, have things on auto response, and don't worry, for a week, the world won't change in a week, as far as your business is concerned. You'll probably learn a lot more by actually having free space away from your phone and your emails during the day to concentrate on this Landscape Academy. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's paying for it.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, so if there's projects that you go and see that you're not interested in, or you feel they're not fit for the company, is that just a case of, I'm really sorry, but it won't work out with Utopia?
Well, I don't
want to just. I get
say no from the start.
It is the truth, but I'd like you with the subcontractors. I'd like to be in a position where we can't facilitate your needs, but here's so and so they can.
Yeah, I mean, the
Or
only way you can,
there is no just okay for now.
no, well, you've got the option of the Association of Professional Landscapers. You can speak to fellow members in your area.
Just to plug onto that. So Richard came round and I'm almost barley approved, which is really exciting. But I'm
Good.
still waiting to hear back from Phil
Okay.
about the APL. So hopefully he watches this and
Watch this space. I mean,
fast
I wouldn't, to
forwards.
be honest with you, I think for the moment, going back to how we used to deal with when we had multiple inquiries, we used to send out a form and we used to get that form filled out from our existing customer base or the new inquiry, and we tried to ask as many questions as we can about their project. You're qualifying that lead, right? Then you can, once you've analyzed that lead, you can then go back to them and say, right, based on that, this is our lead time, this is our approximate costing, blah, blah, blah. You will whittle down. There's always going to be all those time wasters and tire kickers, as I used to call them. So you're not going to be able to see everyone. And just be honest and upfront, and maybe put a banner on your website saying, you know, we're in training for a week. We'll come back to you as soon as we can. Please bear with. Transparency, honesty, you know, it's worth a hell of a lot, Adam.
Yeah.
You know, and actually got to realize that, you know, as I said, people will wait. If they want you, they'll wait. If they don't, that's not the customer you want.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, last question.
Yeah.
It might be quite deep, quite a big question, but I want to have a last question. How would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? That is quite a deep question. Well, I've hopefully got quite a long time left in this industry, but I've always treated people with the same respect as they treat me, right? Which is really important. I'm very loyal, really loyal. I trust, you know, obviously maybe I'm sometimes a bit too trusting. I like to keep a core number of people around me that I can bounce ideas off, right? I want people to, you know, to think that he gave good advice. He had a good company. He had a great company. You know, nothing was ever too much trouble. And, you know, down to earth, honest. And with me, it's very much black and white. There's no middle ground. And I'm very fair. I'm very honest, loyal, and I love what I do. And I love giving back because, as I said before, you know, as I approach my 46th year, I'm very lucky to have had mentors in the past and now that have helped me out. And I love bouncing ideas off people. And I find that really important, you know, which helps for me to be able to then help others, offer that bit of wisdom, experience, ask questions. There's nothing as daft, there's no daft questions out there. And we know there's always more questions than answers.
For sure. I love that. Well, thank you very much for your time and coming on the Utopia podcast again.
Yeah, no
And
problem at all.
Sure, I'll do it again soon.
Yeah, hopefully next time I'll get the background sorted out and we'll have
Yeah.
we'll be on another island. When's our next one planned? When's our next one planned?
When are you flying back?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say that, I'm afraid. That's classified information.
We're definitely doing another one again soon, my friend.
I look forward to it.
Cheers to that.
Alrighty.